Hi there. Welcome to CSL Book Shorts. Tonight I'll be reading out of a book called The Spiritual Universe and You. They are writings from Ernest Holmes, who is the founder, he's the author of the Science of Mind textbook and the founder of the Religious Science or Centers for Spiritual Living movement or philosophy. And this book was compiled and edited by Willis Kinnear in 1971. And at the time, this book cost $1.50. So I'll be reading, the first chapter that I'm reading is Spiritual Healing, chapter 14. So Ernest Holmes says, hold on, there we go. We need to have communion, a conscious sense of definite union with the infinite. There is always such communion, I believe, when we are listening to the song of a bird or thinking about anything that is real. But we can commune more specifically than that. For instance, I read of a prominent man who some years ago found that he definitely was able to create a number of different musical combinations. He did not know how he did it. He was quite frustrated. Then he came to the conclusion that there must be a pool, P-O-O-L, a universal pool where we will say, containing the possibility of every musical combination. He found that when he wanted to compose for any particular occasion, the music seemed to flow through him. Whether we call it inspiration, intuition, or whatever, something responded to him. There is a pool of mind, capital M, mind, around us always, which has the potential possibility of doing through us anything that is ever necessary for us to do. Henry Ford spoke of ideas all around us. I think that every inventor listens to them. There is a communion with infinite intelligence. It always speaks in a language that corresponds with our approach to it. We each are surrounded by a possibility, divine mind, which, whenever we expect it to do something for us, automatically knows how to do that something. But it can only do for us what we believe it can do, because our believing is the nucleus of its doing. Whether it is healing the sick or demonstrating some particular objective good, we must believe it can be done. Jesus said that it is in ourself that we meet the divine. And as much of that which is divine flows into expression through us as we permit by conscious recognition. Jesus would never have imparted this idea unless it made sense. And when we study his ministry, we find it does make sense. Much has been injected into it, such as conjecture about heaven, hell, and future punishment. But the philosophy of Jesus is very direct. God is. Each person has immediate contact with God. For God is not only where each is, but what each is. And if anyone recognizes the power by which he lives, then what he thinks and does cannot have one iota of destruction in it. It is such a very simple teaching that it is hard to grasp. So obvious that when we look at it, we do not see it. We search for that which we are, and look at that which we see without belief, because it does not seem possible that the divine could be there. Jesus stressed the word believe. How are we going to believe? Well, there are different ways. Inspiration is one. We all have some inspiration, not too much, and yet by inspiration comes some inner intuition which gives rise to faith. We feel reality. That is good, and we should try to develop that inspiration, that intuition, that communion with the infinite. We should feel it as a thing of joy, of beauty, and of power, and of course know that there is nothing in it that can hurt. Then there is the way of reason and logic. Reason tells us that if the divine were evil, it would destroy itself. And logic tells us that truth, crushed to earth, shall rise again. Where truth is known, the radiance of its light destroys everything that is not the truth. Jesus inspirationally taught that there is something that will scientifically prove itself to be true. Probably the greatest single saying that has ever been given to the world, so far as man's hope of a greater possibility is concerned, is this: "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." All the knowledge that has come to the human mind has come through inspiration, logic, faith. The faith which arises from intuition and through searching and testing things scientifically. By logic, we may know that the truth could not destroy itself, and by the same logic, it would have to destroy that which is not so. Just as darkness has no resistance to light, so evil has no intrinsic, essential power, no matter how long it has been believed in, because it never was true and it never will be true. But it appears to be true because our consciousness accepts it into our experience, and we experience what we are conscious of. Jesus revealed divine love and explained the law of cause and effect. People accepted the love but did not understand the law. Today, there are still some very beautiful souls who say, "If it is God's will that I prosper, then I will prosper." That is sincere, but not clear thinking. For if we believe that it is God's will that we suffer, we would never go to the dentist or doctor or take any constructive action about our welfare. God's will could not be different from God's nature. If we want to find out what the will of God is, we must find out what the nature of God is. If the nature of God is wholeness, the will of God is wholeness. If the natural order is beauty, we will discover that the will of God is toward the beautiful. It is toward living and not death, because the nature of God is life. God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. The will of God is truth, beauty, love, happiness, wholeness. Therefore, our intelligence bears witness that our inspiration is true. Next, we must try a scientific test and prove it. That is a spiritual mind treatment to be followed by a demonstration. When we speak of treatment, we do not deny the beauty of communion. We do not deny the worshipful attitude. We do not deny the prayerful approach to the divine. We merely say that on top of all of these, there is something else that we can add. The conscious use of the law of cause and effect, the law of mind, capital M, for definite purposes. This principle, this law is so powerful, it can do anything, and we can use it. We ought to be more surprised when people are not healed by spiritual mind treatment than when they are. Why are they not? Why are we not? I think it is because we are so prone to believe the other way. We have certain accepted ideas that have been in our minds so long and are so very comfortable, they want to remain undisturbed. Can we get ourselves to believe that that which ought to be is, even though it does not appear to be? Jesus laid down the great principle, judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. We must see through the inertia of our thought patterns. We have to understand what these patterns are and know that they do not have to be. Conviction is a great thing, Most of us do not have enough spiritual conviction. If a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand, was the simple, direct, yet so profound teaching of Jesus. If we already believe there is a power to heal, what next do we have to believe? We must believe that we are using it, and that it will do the healing because we are using it, and that it will do it in the manner we specify, because we know it is going to do it. We must connect the good that God is with the operation of our everyday affairs. Else, it is an energy not used. It is still there, all of it, but only as much of it can flow to us as we believe in. In our spiritual mind treatments, then, we must train ourselves to believe in more and better possibilities, to believe that the good we desire is already done or being done now. Hence, we find that the science of expressing divine mind for definite purposes involves inspiration and the scientific application. We already have inspiration. All people do. Not only Christians, but all those of all religions. We have faith because we have intuition. We have intuition because God is. And when we stop to figure it out logically, we know that the highest inspirations of man are of reason. They make sense. They add up, as we say. In the scientific application of that power greater than we are, we need to know that we live and move and have our being in the one infinite being. We must know that this being lives and moves through us in eternal union, in everlasting peace, and in perpetual joy. From the center of this radiant recognition, we speak our word, declare the good we desire, and have one as one having authority. And that power which sees in secret surely does reward all of us openly. Chapter 16, The Healing Force of Faith. What faith is, why it is what it is, and how it works are fundamental considerations if we are to make conscious use of it. We have so much evidence of the reality of faith that no sane person can deny it is a power. A man might believe that faith is simply psychological, but no intelligent and observing person can possibly deny the salutary effects of faith. Now, what is faith? Somebody will say a belief in God. Another will say faith is a belief in oneself. Another might say it is a belief that you can do a thing. But what is faith itself? If we are going to construct a fundamental principle of faith, we shall have to accept that it is a positive mental attitude, which can be accepted by both the intellect and the emotions. Faith, then, is a belief, but it is a certain kind of belief. It is a mental attitude placed on the affirmative side. If a person has faith in God, he has faith in God about something, about the welfare of his own soul, the final outcome of truth, healing himself, and so on. It is a certain affirmative way of thinking or a mental agreement with the object of his desire, whatever that object might be, and the conviction that through his faith in God's action, it will become manifest. So, when a man has faith, he believes that that which has no objective existence at the present moment will be created and projected into his experience by the invisible power which he calls God. The history of human experience proves that faith is potent and powerful in varying degrees. It is manifest in the life of every living soul. We see in the lives of all great people that indomitable spirit, that fire which refuses to become extinguished. Talent, though well-meaning, without viral faith often flounders, while the genius of faith is that it never will stop and ask how strong the enemy is. It does not know that there is an enemy. That's good. Such faith produces results. We have seen it through the ages, whether in the healing of a disease, the building of an empire, the promotion of a great philanthropy, the projecting of a new philosophy of life. Every great institution started with faith. Why is this so? The analysis of how that which is true works is what we call science. The inquiry as to the reason it works that way is what we call philosophy. The union of our lives in a spiritual sense with that reason is the essence of religion, which is unification, not theology. What is back of this faith that works in everybody's life? We see around us a great universal manifestation of things. They do not create themselves, so it is certain that there is a universal principle manifesting in and through them as them. The very fact that we have self-consciousness and can think and reason is positive proof that there is a universal intelligence. We cannot get something out of the universe that is not there. The very fact that faith is a power in the life of any individual and has been in the lives of countless millions of individuals is proof that faith itself is a universal principle which we did not create and acts as a law. It springs spontaneously into action through our belief, which acts as a channel through which it may flow. Faith is the use, largely unconsciously, of this universal principle, which is part of the nature of the divine mind. The reason why effective faith must of necessity be affirmative, never negative, is that infinite intelligence cannot argue. That is a profound thought, one of the deepest we can consider. For instance, we cannot imagine God saying, I have decided that I would like to do this certain thing tomorrow, but it will all depend upon who is president or whether or not the stock market happens to be going up. That is why our Bible says that God's language is yea and amen. God is the absolute, the self-sufficient, that out of which all things are made. The greatest souls who have lived have plainly announced that the proclamation of the infinite is a mandate. We find that the announcements of these great people are always in line with universal necessity. The great truths which have been given to the world all unite and unify in this cosmic principle. I don't know how to say this word. Plotinus, it's a person, Plotinus, said that if he were to personify nature, he would say, I do not argue, I contemplate. And our Bible says, be still and know that I am God. The very knowledge of being in God produces becoming. That is projecting. It is a tremendous concept, but fraught with the possibilities which we all desire, because it is here within us that the infinite operates. The reason why faith is an affirmation, then, is that God's language is only an affirmation and not a denial. Yea and amen. The infinite's power is absolute, not comparative. Its word is its law. Hence, unlike so many of us, the great soul is one who has not listened to that which denies his faith. If we could uncover his consciousness, we would find there is a place where there is no opponent, nothing against him, or if there had been, it had been overcome. How careful we should be about having a right faith. In our working out, we should test it to see if it be of God. That affirmation, which is the most nearly in accord with righteousness or rightness, has the most power. Faith is a mental attitude because it is a certain way of thinking. It is a necessity in the universe because the universe is a positive unit. But we have all heard people affirm some things which subjectively they do not believe. Every affirmation is not backed by faith, but all true affirmative statements are ones of faith. If we analyze this more carefully, we shall find that before there can be a genuine faith in any man's mind, the subjective content of his intellect and conscious concept must be in agreement. The subjective content of his intellect and conscious concept must be in agreement. The inner mind must no longer contradict what is affirmed. The average man can only believe that which seems to him to be true. He may say, I believe that goodness is all there is. Then the experiences which he has had of evil, the things he has read about evil, the inner fear and race concepts of evil may make him say, perhaps good is all there is, but there is a lot that isn't good too. In such a way, each of us may find an argument entering into our minds. So it takes time to acquire faith, because faith must become subjectively rooted before it can be objectively and intellectually accepted. The faith which we seek to demonstrate is that God is not far off, but within. That which appears to be outside is in the greater whole. We have to establish this faith in what we call subjective thought, thus weeding out the unbelief, the fear, the doubt, the uncertainty. When his disciples came to Jesus asking why they were unable to cure a man's son, Jesus said, because of your unbelief. Howbeit this kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting. Jesus did not mean that they were not to eat a certain thing. That is not the kind of fasting he was talking about. It must be that he meant the abstaining from all but that which one desires. If a man will give up all of his other ideas to one idea, that idea is alive. That is why genius does what it must, and talent does what it can. Lord, I believe, help thou mine unbelief, is a cry we must each have uttered. It is the unbelief that ails us, and it is a psychological factor. It is not a thing of itself. It is an argument, a way of thinking. Hence, we gradually acquire faith as we show ourselves why we may have faith. Faith is the great positive, affirmative attitude of mind, and it is powerful because it is in agreement with God. Faith can be creative only when it is thus completely unified. So it's consciously unifying with the subconscious, okay? What we believe in our heart is unifying with what we say in our words. We're unifying those two. The great spiritual powers, such as men like Jesus, have had a true spiritual genius. Let me read that again. The great spiritual power, such as men like Jesus have had a true spiritual genius, could not have been used other than the way it was used. So we need never say it is impossible for a man to enter into the consciousness of unity with God. But he can do so only in such degree as he stops thinking of duality. This is the whole key to all of it. A man cannot be good while he is being bad. We want to acquire a faith that will make us happy, that insofar as we can understand human well-being, will provide well-being. That insofar as we can understand life, will provide physical healing. We wish to enter into a great fullness of life, and we shall find that this comes to us in such degree as we let go of the lesser. There is something in the universe which honors our approach to it and honors it affirmatively. We open and close the door of this reality through our own mind. For mind is the power that molds and makes, and man is mind, and evermore he takes the tool of thought and shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret, and it comes to pass. Environment is but his looking glass. And the last chapter I'm going to read is called Use the Law of Life! Exclamation point. Chapter 17. It says, the law of mind, capital M, capital L too, the law of mind may be referred to as the law of cause and effect, or the law of action and reaction. Just as everything in the universe follows a circuit, whether it is a planetary system or the seasons, so in our daily lives, everything we think, say, or do finally comes back to us. Our chief concern then should be not in what is coming back to us, but in what is going out from us. Are our thoughts and our acts generous, kind, and loving? Are they friendly, happy, and optimistic? Do we really have an enthusiastic interest in life? If it is true that what goes out will come back in accordance with a natural law, the law of mind, then we can know that the seasons of our own fear or faith, doubt or belief, follow in the course of our own inward thoughts and feelings, our actions and reactions to life. If we like people, they will like us, and they will know without our ever telling them whether we like them or not, for our patterns of thought are reflected in others. If we feel unfriendly, we have some forlorn or disconsolate sense of being separated from life, of not agreeing with it. One of the first things we have to do is to accept life with good-natured flexibility. We have to accept it anyway, no matter how much we struggle against it. This does not mean that we accept the inevitability of evil, bad fortune, or disease, but that we do not spend all of our time resisting life. A great psychiatrist of our day has written a book in which he says that all of our physical troubles are due to the stress and strain we experience in daily living. It is his belief that most diseases have a relationship with the way we think and feel, and if there were never excesses of strain or stress, there would be very little disease. We seem to surround ourselves in a subtle way with the atmosphere of our mental and spiritual and emotional reactions to life. It is very difficult to always be swimming against a strong current, and moreover, it is contrary to the laws of nature. Stress and strain and fear, antagonism and resistance and resentment, All such attitudes, whether we seek to conceal them or not, most certainly are felt by those around us. A person who arrives at a place where he would rather be alone with his sorrow or his trouble or his confusion than associate with others isolates himself from society. It is only a few steps from this to a sort of psychological regression. He retreats back in his own mind where he falsely feels emotionally secure and stays there. Our mental institutions have thousands of such people who could not adequately meet the strain and the stress of life and who did not know how to feel happy and whole. If we are interested in using the law of mind in such a way that we attract only happiness, we must begin then to mentally embody only happiness. Right here, someone might think that that would be impossible because he is so unhappy much of the time. This is a problem each of us must face, and each must find some sense of security, some faith, some conviction in his own consciousness that will make him happy. I know of nothing more likely to do this than a faith in life, a faith in people, in oneself, in the universe, and in God. A God who both gives and forgives, who is good and kind and just. If we are to experience happiness, then what we think must be happy. To deliberately want people to like us, we must continuously express a sense of contentment and peace and trust and ease, so that when people are with us, they feel a sort of confidence, a sense of wholeness. Then we have to have a certain positive center in our own minds that does not take on the thoughts and feelings and depressions of other people. And it is very simple. Just close the door to such negations. Now, this is not unkind, nor is it ungenerous. If you find a man who has fallen into a mud puddle and you wish to help him, you have to stand out of the mud to pull him out. It will not help him one bit to get in and wallow around in the mud with him. So it is with all of our attitudes toward life. If we expect that every person we meet is going to be tolerant and kind, we shall find the majority of them are just that, provided we ourselves are not trying to make a bargain with life. It is not a question of influencing people or getting them to do what we want them to do. It is a question of having the right attitude in one's own mind, an attitude of cheer, of faith, of confidence, a belief that everything is going to come out all right. We cultivate this positive attitude by just thinking that way. We are so constituted that our consistent thought patterns become what we call unconscious or subjective. They seem to sink down into some deeper realm of mind, the realm in which most mind-body relationships are established, and gradually take on characteristic of their own so that they work automatically and we no longer have to think about them. But the only way we can tell if we have established them is whether or not the unhappy or morbid or antagonistic thoughts of resistance keep arising within us. It is said in psychology that if other people arouse antagonism within us, the amount of antagonism that they arouse measures our own sense of inferiority. Interesting. It is only because we have an unconscious sense of inferiority, of not being worthwhile, that other people can antagonize us. Because what goes out from us will come back again by a law of its own nature and on a circuit of its own action. Action and reaction always equal each other, and they are simultaneous and continuous. So the sum total of our patterns of thought is attracting or repelling what we desire. Our ideas always evolve into tangible experience. Our job is not to try to make the law of mind work, not to make things happen, not to influence people, not to be aggressive, but rather with a sort of non-resistant flexibility to meet life as it comes, with some sense of power and a consciousness of love and joy and expectation of good that we have developed deep within. We are living right now in a spiritual universe, in a universe governed by laws of intelligence. Emerson said that we are begirt or surrounded by spiritual laws which execute themselves. We do not have to sit around wishing or willing or longing for the law of mind to act. Here's the simple fact. This law is as a mirror, reflecting as our experiences the patterns of thought presented to it. When we stand in front of a mirror, it reflects our image automatically, does it not? The reflection is identical and completely corresponds with the object in front of it. The reflection in the mirror did not put itself there. We cannot rub it out. We could deny it or affirm its opposite, or will or wish or pray or supplicate for it to go away. But as long as we stand in front of the mirror, that object will be exactly reflected. However, as the object changes, the reflection changes. It is just that way in our lives and in our experiences. The object is our thought. The mirror is as the law of mind. If there are those things in our lives which ought not to be, they are what we have given the law of mind, and we are receiving back their correspondence or reflections. So we have to get busy and change the object, the pattern of our own thinking, our inward state of awareness. We will always be experiencing the effect of the way we think and act. There is nothing that can change that. But we can change the content of our subjective thought to the affirmative side. We have to learn to change all of the sad and morose images of thought. And it is not as difficult as it sounds. It takes persistence. It takes the will to do it, the faith to believe it can be done, the hope to expect it is happening, the enthusiasm to enjoy it, and we can make it a game and let it be fun. Just as certain as we do this, something good will happen. Let us look forward to our greater good and expect it, for life can be that way. How are we going to do it? The ultimate is to discover God within, the self, to discover God within the self and learn to sing the song of life, a hymn of praise. And he's got another poem down here at the bottom. Thou, God, approveth of me. God is happy, not afraid, nor poor, nor weak, nor uncertain. All the energy, all the power, all the love and wisdom and intelligence and beauty there is in the universe is within me, because there is one life. That life is God. That life is my life. That life is perfect in me now, and there is nothing contrary to it. All the enthusiasm and joy and sense of well-being and vitality of that life is flowing through me now. Okay, that's it for Book Shorts for tonight. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.